Jai Hind students. Today we are going to study chapter number 5 Indigo part 2, and for this, first of all, I am going to share the story with you. Just wait for a minute. Now students, you can see that I have shared the story on your screen, and since we had studied yesterday in our previous class till page number 48. Now today we are going to move forward from there onwards. The last paragraph of page number 48 we are going to begin today, but before that I want that yesterday which we did not do, that we did not study the question, so we are going to discuss these questions first. Now here on page number 47 you can see that few questions are given there under the column of think as you read. So these questions are short answer type questions, and first of all, question number 1 is multiple choice question is given, but rest of the two you will have to write in 30 to 40 words each as per examinations norms. So here we are going to discuss the questions first of all. Let us see, because you remember students that you will always have to do, it will be better for you to get the answer of those questions which belong to the to those paragraphs which had already been explained. So this much we have already been explained, and it will be better if we will study the answers of these questions. Then the answer of these questions will also be clear to you yourself. It will be easier for you to understand. So go through these questions, and later on you will have to write the answers of these questions on your note in your notebook as well. So let us see the first question. It is here it is given that strike out what is not true in the following. Now remember students, it is not that strike out what is true, rather you will have to strike out what is not true, and 4 options are given there. Let us see that what is it, that your question is Rajkumar Shukla was. So we already, on the basis of the study, we have already known that Rajkumar Shukla was a sharecropper, and what we have to strike out, we don't have to strike out this first option, we can strike out rest of the 3 options. He was not politician, he was not delegate, he was not landlord, means these are your answers. You have to strike out second, third and fourth option. Now see the part B of question number 1. Rajkumar Shukla was poor, physically strong, illiterate. So definitely on the basis of a study we know that Rajkumar Shukla was a poor man and illiterate as well. So what we have to strike out, what is our answer, that is physically strong, means he was not physically strong. So that's why second option is our correct answer. Now let us see that question number 2, which question number 2 and 3, which you have to write in 30 to 40 words each. So question number 2 is, why is Rajkumar Shukla described as being resolute? Resolute means determined, firm. So the answer of this question is we can write in this way, since you will have to write the answer in your own way, because always in board examination due weightage is given to the original answer. So try to write the answer. You can get the answer in the paragraph. It is very clearly given, but you can write the answers in your own words. Remember the word limit, 30 to 40 words each. 5 words less or more you can write, you can use, but keep it around 40 words and utilize maximum word limit. So answer you can write in this way, that Rajkumar Shukla had come all the way from Champaran district in the foothills of Himalayas to Lucknow to speak to Gandhi. And Shukla accompanied Gandhi everywhere. Why he was called resolute? Because once he came to meet Gandhiji and then he accompanied Gandhiji everywhere. And Shukla followed him to the ashram near Ahmedabad, and for weeks he never left Gandhiji's side till Gandhi asked him to meet at Calcutta. In this sense, that he has been described as resolute. Now we can also see the question number 3. Why do you think the servants thought Gandhi to be another peasant? So we can also get the answer. This has already been explained. As Shukla led Gandhi to Rajendra Prasad's house first, and then the servants knew Shukla as a poor yeoman, poor farmer. Gandhi was also clad in a simple dhoti and all that, means he was looking like a farmer, a peasant. So he was the companion of a peasant, Rajkumar Shukla. So hence the servants thought Gandhi to be another peasant. In this way you can write the answers in your own words. Now students, let us move to the next paragraph from where we have to study today, and it is here, page number 48, the last paragraph. Now let us see. The real relief means Gandhi was thinking, Gandhi has a typical pattern, his own pattern of walking. So that's why when he reached to Champaran, he did some inquiry, and then he got to know that where the peasants are so crushed and fear-stricken, he realized that peasants are crushed, oppressed and fear-stricken, and that's why he thought that law courts are useless for these fear-stricken peasants, and he thought that the real relief for them is to be free from fear. Means he wanted to solve the problem from its root. So that's why he decided, because he realized that they are so many in numbers, peasants are so many in numbers, but even though they are unable to raise their voice even for their justice against the British landlords, because they were fear stricken. So Gandhi had decided to remove fear from the sharecroppers against the British landlords. So what he did for that, let us see now. And most of the arable land in the Champaran district was divided into large estates, and at that time there was a landlord system in Bihar, in Champaran district especially, and most of the arable land, productive land, fertile land in Champaran district was divided into large estates, and the owner of these estates were Englishmen, English landlords, and worked by Indian tenants. Indian peasants were working there on those estates as tenants, as sharecropper, and the chief commercial crop was indigo. Indigo was the chief commercial crop at that time. The landlords compelled all tenants to plant 3/20 of or 15% of their holdings with indigo and surrender the entire indigo harvest as rent. And you know what landlords were doing? That landlords had forced all the peasant sharecroppers to plant 3/20 or 15% of 15% of their holdings, their land with indigo, and they also compelled them to surrender the entire indigo harvest as rent, to give entire indigo harvest as a rent, because it was a commercial crop. It was a very profitable business for British landlords. So that's why as a rent they wanted entire indigo which had been produced by the sharecroppers. And this was done by long term contract, and they had properly that uh, mm, they had properly taken as long term contract. There was an agreement between sharecroppers and landlords. So that's why the sharecroppers were compelled to grow 15% of their holdings with indigo. And now let us see in next paragraph. uh, it is described that presently the landlords learned that Germany had produced synthetic indigo. But after that, what happened? That later on, the landlords came to know that Germany had developed a synthetic indigo. Synthetic indigo means it was a artificial or chemical indigo, while Indian indigo was original one. So synthetic indigo, when Germany produced and landlords came to know, they thereupon obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released from the 15% of arrangement. So they were quite, landlords were quite cunning. Now when they realized that indigo is not going to be profitable business, now demand of the Indian indigo in international market has been reduced due to the synthetic indigo produced by Germany. Then they played another game, and they obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released. Means they told if they want to be free from growing indigo, then they will have to pay compensation uh, to the landlords, and from the 15% of arrangement. The sharecropping arrangement was awesome to the peasants, and the sharecropping arrangement was awesome. It was quite troublesome for the uh, sharecroppers to produce indigo. It was quite painful, very tough job to produce indigo. So and many signed willingly, and that's why many of the peasants had signed on the agreement willingly, because it was quite awesome job for them. Those who resisted, means those sharecroppers who opposed it, engaged lawyers. They they hired lawyers uh, against the compensation, and the landlords hired thugs, and then landlords also, to control them, they hired thugs, and they had been beaten, and usually it was happening, and because of that they were fear stricken, and they never tried to raise their voice even for injustice which had been done against them. Meanwhile, the information about synthetic indigo reached their engaged lawyers, and meanwhile the information about synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasants who had signed, and they wanted their money back. And meanwhile the information reached to the poor sharecroppers who were quite illiterate, so that's why they did not have any leader and all that. So they came, they got the information about real reason uh, behind the mm, that cunningness of the landlords, that they wanted to uh, free them from the growing 15% of indigo. So when they came to know the real reason behind it, then they became they wanted their money back. Those who had already signed and paid back the compensation, they wanted their money back. And at this point of time, Gandhi arrived in Champaran, and this was the time where Gandhiji arrived at Champaran. And he began trying to get the facts, means since this conflict was going on at that point of time, the Gandhiji arrived at Champaran, and he began by trying to get the facts. First of all, Gandhiji had a different pattern of working. So first of all, he wanted to collect the authentic evidence. He wanted to get the facts. So first he visited the secretary of the British Landlords Association in order to get the truth. uh, First of all, Gandhiji visited the secretary of the British Landlords to get the real information about the crisis. Then the secretary told him that they could give no information to an outsider, and secretary told that they since Gandhi is an outsider, so they are not going to give any information to Gandhiji. And Gandhi answered that he was no outsider. Then Gandhiji told that he was not an outsider, he also belongs to India, he is an Indian, and this problem was the problem of Indian peasants. And next, Gandhi called on the British official commissioner of the Tirhut division in which the Champaran district lay. And Gandhi did not stop there, rather he moved a step forward, and he met British official commissioner of the Tirhut division in which the Champaran districts came. Then later on, Gandhiji reported that the commissioner proceeded to bully me and advised me forthwith to leave Tirhut. Then what happened when Gandhiji met British official commissioner of Tirhut division? Then the commissioner proceeded to bully him, means commissioner was also the doing same thing as the British Landlords Association secretary did, that he started threatening Gandhiji. Instead of listening him, instead of trying to get the facts, to give the that correct information to him, he also started bullying him, started threatening him, and he advised Gandhiji to leave Tirhut division immediately. But Gandhi did not leave. But here Gandhiji did not leave, did not listen to the commissioner. Instead, he proceeded to Motihari, the capital of Champaran. Since Gandhi did not leave, because Gandhiji was a man of principle, and he had a great respect for law and lawful authorities. But here, since they were trying to hide the facts. They were trying to exploit the farmers, and Gandhiji, who was a great follower of truth and non-violence, that and he always uh, wanted to support to the poor people, and he always wanted to get justice for the poor. He always stands against the injustice. So Gandhiji till now had already realized that injustice is being done against the poor sharecroppers. So that's why, for the sake of those poor farmers, he disobeyed the order of the commissioner to leave Tirhut, and instead he proceeded to Motihari. Instead of leaving Tirhut division, that he proceeded to Motihari, which was the capital of Champaran at that time. Now, several lawyers accompanied him. Gandhiji did not, when he reached Motihari, he was not alone. Rather, that he was accompanied by many of the lawyers. At the railway station, a vast multitude greeted Gandhiji. When Gandhiji reached to the railway station, then he had been welcomed by a vast multitude, means a big crowd of people gathered there to welcome Gandhiji. And he went to a house and using it as a headquarters, continued his investigations. And then from the railway station, Gandhiji reached to a house and used it as his headquarters, and he continued his proceedings and investigations from there. The report came in that a peasant had been maltreated in a nearby village, and there Gandhiji got a report, and where it was told that a peasant, a farmer, had been maltreated, means ill-treated by in a nearby village by the Britishers. Gandhi decided to go and see. The next morning, he started out on the back of an elephant, and then when Gandhiji came to know this disappointing news, then he decided to go and see the peasant. And the next morning he started out on the back of an elephant, because at that time there was communication was not so strong as we can see in the modern days, in today's. So Gandhiji started going there to Motihari to see the peasant on the back of an elephant. He had not proceeded far when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him and ordered him to return to his carriage. And then he had not moved forward, far away. He was in the way while the police superintendent's messenger, took over him, and he stopped him. He caught him and stopped him and ordered him to return to the town in his carriage, in his vehicle. Gandhi complied, but here Gandhi complied means followed his order, and the messenger drove Gandhi home, and from there that messenger left Gandhi at his home, where he served him with an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. And when Gandhiji reached at home, that he had given him an official notice to quit Champaran, to leave Champaran immediately. It was, remember student, it was an official notice. Means Gandhiji received an official notice to leave Champaran immediately. But Gandhiji signed a receipt for the notice and wrote on it that he would disobey the order. You know, Gandhiji signed, he was a law abiding person and he had a great respect for law, I have already mentioned, and he did not want to break the law. He did not want to break the law. He wanted to follow, but he was also considering about the uh, injustice done against the sharecroppers. So he signed on the receipt, but he also wrote there that he would disobey the order. He is not going to follow the order, means he was not going to leave Champaran. Now see that what was the result of it when he disobeyed the official order. Then, in consequence, as a result, Gandhi received a summons to appear in the court the next day, and as a result, that Gandhi, a summon had been given to Gandhiji to appear in the court. Means Gandhiji received a court's order to appear in the court the next day, because that he had disobeyed the um, official's order. All night now, see the next paragraph, that all night Gandhi remained awake, and after that what happened? Gandhiji has also a typical pattern of walking, as that he knew that means the sharecroppers had been exploited by the British landlord. So until he get the justice in favor of the sharecroppers, he could not quit the case. So that's why instead of leaving from Champaran, Gandhiji was worried after receiving the summons to appear in the court, and that night, throughout the night, he remained awake. He could not sleep, and he telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friends. Then he, telegraphed to Rajendra Prasad, who was an eminent, a very famous lawyer at that time, and requested him to come to Bihar with some of other influential friends. And he sent instructions to the ashram, and also he had sent some instructions to the ashram, and he wired a full report to the viceroy, and he also had sent a complete report regarding that conflict to the viceroy, who was the representative of the British there in India. And morning found the town of Motihari black with peasants, and next morning, when Gandhi had to appear into the court, then Motihari black with peasants, peasants in large numbers gathered around the courthouse in support of Gandhiji. They did not know Gandhiji's record in South Africa, since they did not know that what Gandhiji had done in South Africa, but they had merely heard that Mahatma, who wanted to help them, was in trouble with the authorities. They knew only one thing, that there was a Mahatma who had come to help to the poor peasants, and he was in trouble with the British authorities, and that's why in large numbers, in support of Gandhiji, those peasants gathered around the courthouse in Motihari. And their spontaneous demonstration in thousands around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from fear of British. Now, students, you see that you can notice, you can underline this, that there is spontaneous demonstration only when they did not know, those poor peasants, thousands in numbers, they gathered there around the courthouse of Motihari. They did not know anything. They had never met Mahatma Gandhi, but when they know that there is someone, some Mahatma, that who wanted to help them, and he was in trouble with the British authority, in support of Gandhiji, they gathered there in thousands in numbers. And it was, the author reported that it was the beginning of their liberation from the fear of the British. And this point is very important, where it was already, means when Gandhiji got the huge support of this common people, then it was the beginning from that time of the liberation of the freedom from the fear of the British. That was the symbol that they have already come out from the fear of the British. Now let us see the next paragraph. The officials felt powerless without Gandhiji's cooperation, and there what happened, that British officials felt powerless in front of such a large gathering without the support of Gandhiji, without the cooperation of Gandhiji. And he helped them regulate the crowd. That Gandhiji was a very humble and very cooperative person. And even though there was the conflict, there was the crisis against that against the British, but even though at that time Gandhiji helped them to regulate, to control the crowd, because they knew that the crowd was not going to listen anything from the British landlords, and they put pressure on the British authorities so much that they were compelled to request to Gandhiji to control the crowd. And he was polite and friendly. He was polite and friendly, and Gandhiji was a very polite, very humble person, and friendly as well, even with the British authority. And he was giving them a concrete proof that their might, means their power, hitherto from here onwards dreaded, till now, which was dreaded and unquestioned, could be challenged by the Indians. Now in this way Gandhiji had given them a concrete proof, a solid proof, that their might, means their power, which was till now dreaded and unquestioned, because that the poor peasants uh, who were fear stricken, they did not put any question against any kind of injustice which was happened with them. Now they have raised their voice, they have united, and they are stood before them to raise their voice for their justice. And it means that their might, their power could be challenged by the Indians from there onwards. It was a big threat for the British officials, and now they realized it also. And as a result, the government was baffled, and then to see such a huge crowd of the Indian peasants in support of Gandhiji, the government was baffled, was quite confused what to do. Should they proceed the matter forward, or should they postpone? The prosecutors requested the judge to postpone the trial, and the prosecutor requested the judge to postpone the trial to see the situation. And apparently the authorities, obviously the authorities wished to consult their superiors, and he had given a logic that authorities want to consult to their superiors in the matter. but it was just a pretension. Gandhiji realized that they were under pressure of the crowd and they just want to make it delay. That's why Gandhi protested against the delay. Gandhi was not agreed. He wanted the trial proceeding should be continued, and he read a statement pleading guilty, and then he read a statement and where he had admitted his guilt that he had disobeyed the official's order. And further he said that he was involved. He told the court, further he told to the court that he was involved, involved in the conflict of duties. Now remember students, a question, short answer type questions had already been asked on the basis of this statement, conflict of duties. At that time, who was in the conflict of duties? It was Gandhiji. And Gandhiji told to the court that at that time he was in the conflict of duties on the one hand, and to set the bad example, not to set the bad example as a lawbreaker. What was the conflict which was going on in Gandhiji's mind at that time? Because that he was a great follower of law and order. He was not a lawbreaker, and he never wanted to disobey any official's order. But he was in a conflict of his duties because at that time simultaneously he had to perform two duties. One, that he did not want to be a lawbreaker, he did not want to disobey the lawful authorities. On the other hand, but he had also another problem, that to render the humanitarian and national service. He had the duty towards the humanity and national service. He also had to perform the national service as the citizen of India. It was also his duty to help the humanity and perform the national service, and for which that he had come to Champaran. And he was so polite, so humble, that he had admitted his guilt, and he also told that what is going on, what kind of challenges are there before him, what kind of conflict was going on in his mind at that time. So he disregarded the order to leave, not for want of respect. Now remember students, you can underline this all, that Gandhiji further told that he disregarded the order to leave Champaran, not for want of respect for lawful authority, because he did not intend to disrespect the lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of our being. But he wanted to follow the higher law of his being, the voice of conscience, because that he was in conflict. So he, at that time, he had heard the voice of conscience, because to help the humanity was more important there at that time than to follow the order of the lawful authority. And he asked the penalty due, and that's why he admitted his guilt, and he asked to the court to give the due penalty. He was ready to accept the punishment. Now in next paragraph we see that magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence after 2 hours races, and asked Gandhi to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. Magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence, he would declare the judgment after 2 hours races, and meanwhile he asked Gandhiji to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. He had given the time 120 minutes, 2 hours time to Gandhiji to manage for his bail. Gandhi refused, but Gandhiji refused to furnish for the bail. Rather, the judge released him without bail, but after that, the judge released him without even bail. That shows that they were British authority, the court, judge, everyone was under pressure. What was why they were under pressure? Because they were feeling the pressure of the crowd which was gathered around the courthouse. And now, when the court reconvened, the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. And later on, when the court reconvened, assembled, again the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days, and they postponed the trial. Judge declared that he was not going to deliver the judgment for several days. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. But meanwhile, that he allowed Gandhiji to be free to remain at liberty. Then in next paragraph we can see that Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, Maulana Mazharul Haq, and several other prominent lawyers. These were the lawyers. These were the prominent lawyers at that time who were gathered there in support of Gandhiji. So these prominent lawyers had arrived from Bihar. They had arrived from Bihar to support Gandhiji, and on the request of Gandhiji, and they conferred with Gandhi what would they do if he was sentenced to prison. Gandhi asked, and when they reached to Gandhiji, then what would they do? They asked Gandhiji that what would they do if he was sentenced to prison? If Gandhiji was sent into the prison, so what they will do? Gandhi asked to them. When these prominent lawyers met Gandhiji, Gandhiji asked to them that what would they do if Gandhiji had to go to jail. Then they said that why. The senior lawyer replied that they had come to advise and help him. If he went to jail, there would be nobody to advise and they would go home. Then the senior lawyers among those prominent lawyers said that they had come to advise. They told that they had come there in support of Gandhiji, to advise Gandhiji on his request to help him. But if he will go to jail, there would be nobody to advise and they would go home. Then if he goes into the jail, there will not be anybody to whom they could give their advice. So that's why they told that when Gandhiji goes to prison, then they will return to their homes. Means they were not concerned so much for sharecroppers as Gandhiji. This was the basic difference between Mahatma Gandhi and other leaders and other people. Gandhiji was quite a selfless person. He came to Champaran on the request of Rajkumar Shukla, who was a common, peasant, a poor peasant. And but Gandhiji stayed there. Even Gandhiji was ready to go for jail for the sake of those sharecroppers. Gandhiji did not belong to Champaran, but even though he had come and he was ready to help them, but these people, these prominent lawyers who were from the nearby areas, they were least concerned with the problems, with the exploitation of the sharecroppers, and they did not want to stay there once when Gandhiji went to jail. Now, further Gandhiji asked them that what about the injustice to the sharecroppers? Gandhi demanded. Then Gandhi asked to the lawyers that what will happen with the sharecroppers, with the injustice to the sharecroppers if they will go home. The lawyers withdrew to consult. Then they were in a fix and then went back to consult among themselves. All the lawyers went back to consult among themselves. Then Rajendra Prasad has recorded the upshot of their consultations, and then with the result of their consultations, their conference, the Rajendra Prasad came up with the decision of their consultations, and he said that they thought amongst themselves, means all the lawyers consulted among themselves, and they thought that Gandhi was totally a stranger, and yet he was prepared to go to prison for the sake of the peasants if they, on the other hand, being not only residents of the adjoining districts but also those who claimed to have served these peasants, should go home, it would be a shameful desertion. And now that Rajendra Prasad said that all the lawyers thought that Gandhiji was a totally stranger, but even though yet he was prepared to go to jail for the sake of the peasants, means he did not belong to Champaran, he was from outside, but even though for the sake of the sharecroppers justice, that he was even ready to go to jail. And if they, on the other hand, means the lawyers, being not only residents of the adjoining districts but also those who claimed to have served these peasants, because they had already taken, they knew about the sharecroppers problem, they had frequently presented the case into the courts, and they also belong to the adjoining districts of Champaran, and if they had promised to serve to the peasants, but if they should go home, it would be a shameful desertion, it will be very shameful for the lawyers. It means they had decided to support Gandhiji even after Gandhiji goes to prison. Then they accordingly went back to Gandhi and told him they were ready to follow him into jail. And now, so they had made up their mind completely to support Gandhiji, and then accordingly they went back to Gandhiji and told him that they were ready to follow him into the jail. If he is ready, Gandhiji is ready to go to prison, they are also ready to follow Gandhiji even into the jail. Means they had given full support to Gandhiji at any circumstances. Gandhiji now got the full support of these intellectuals, these prominent lawyers. Then the Battle of Champaran is won. Then Gandhiji declared that The battle of Champaran is won, he exclaimed, and then that he took a piece of paper and divided the group into pairs and put down the order in which each pair was to court arrest. And then Gandhiji took a piece of paper and divided the group into the pairs and put down the order in which that each pair was to court arrest, and he had given them the order in which in case Gandhiji goes to jail they uh, can follow in the same order to the court. And then several days later, Gandhi received a written communication from the magistrate informing him that the lieutenant governor of the province had ordered the case to be dropped. And several days later, Gandhi received a written communication, a written message from the magistrate on behalf of the magistrate, and it was informed him that the lieutenant governor of the province had ordered the case against Gandhiji to be dropped. Now, the case against Gandhiji had been dropped with the order of the lieutenant governor, and in this way, the civil disobedience had triumphed, had got the victory. It was the great victory of the civil disobedience which was launched by Gandhiji, which was experimented by Gandhiji in Champaran, the first time in modern India, and it was a great victory of Gandhiji. So that's all, students, for today. And here we can see that as we did in the beginning of the chapter today, we had seen the questions and we had discussed the questions. Here we can also see that one question is given here on this page number 51, that is the events in this part of the text illustrate Gandhiji's method of working. Can you identify some instances of this method and link them to his ideas of satyagraha and non-violence? Now, student, this is your homework for today, and till tomorrow you will prepare with the answer of these questions, and we will discuss the answer of this question tomorrow. That's all for today, students. Thank you and have a nice day.